In Northern California, locals call them the ghosts, massive, cunning, and elusive wild boars that have silently ravaged crops, threatening every field and livelihood in their path. Today, we step into the mission to hunt these ghosts, authorized by local authorities, where every footstep could spell danger. Our only goal? Stop them from returning and protect the crops and lives of the people here. After consulting with locals about the terrain, tracks, and times these boars appear, we swiftly put our plan into motion. Every step followed a precise strategy, led by Thomas, moving toward the designated spot. Within minutes of waiting, the target emerged. A perfectly aimed shot brought down the nearly 200-pound giant. For us was more than a victory. It was a mission to protect the community's crops and livelihoods. That opening strike ignited determination in every one of us. We pushed deeper into the forest, the usual haunt of these boars. This time, it wasn't just one, but an entire herd creeping into the fields, ready to wreak their familiar havoc. Yet every move they made was anticipated by our experienced hunters. Gunfire echoed, felling several at once. This is our standard hunting method. But the sheer number of boars this time exceeded expectations, ramping up the tension. Tip came from the forest's edge. It's here! Jenny, the team's sole sharpshooter, immediately acted, determined to stop the threat. As she arrived, the shadowy figure could not escape her long-range sight. Each precise shot secured the target. A few managed to flee, but Jenny stayed confident. Other escape routes had been blocked. The sound of victory quickly signaled the campaign's success. Crops saved and the community safe. Not letting them escape easily, the chase continued, with each target falling in turn. We tracked the remaining signs, but these clever animals always tried to evade. The hunt grew more intense under the scorching sun, testing patience and sharpness. No matter how crafty, ultimately, none escaped the resolve to protect crops and community livelihoods. Keeping spirits high, we knew the fight wasn't over. Many ghosts still lurked. After a short movement, we paused, suddenly spotting entire herds on the move. Only seconds to act, a decisive moment determining the mission's success. Thanks to seamless teamwork, each group of wild boars was swiftly subdued. The area returned to a rare calm after the storm that minutes ago threatened destruction. As dusk fell, the search never stopped. In the dim light, new targets slowly appeared. With only a few well-placed shots, the boars couldn't escape fate. Each accurate shot reaffirmed our faith and determination. Now, the locals could breathe easy. The crops were protected and peace restored. Before leaving, we knew the ghosts still existed. But today, they had no chance to destroy the harvest. This wasn't just a victory, it was proof of our responsibility and determination, protecting nature and community from threats that once seemed unstoppable. Wild boars not only threaten our crops, but also pose a life or death challenge to us, the professional hunters. With their explosive reproductive rate, they devastate millions of acres each year, pushing nature to the brink of chaos. In this urgent situation, we're not just hunting wild boars, but protecting the ecological balance. If we don't act now, what will become of our environment? Stay tuned until the end to witness the fate of these savage beasts. At 5 a.m., we enter the territory taken over by the wild boars. Each member quickly splits up, calculating every step carefully. The hunting dogs, once released, immediately catch the scent and signal the presence of the prey. Upon receiving the signal, I rush forward. Oh, it's here! Too fast, it notices and tries to escape. But just as it makes its move, boom! A perfect shot halts its escape entirely. We can't afford to underestimate the cunning of these wild boars. 1 second of carelessness can lead to unimaginable consequences. We continue our search, tracking new targets. After a short distance, figures lurking in the fields are visible and cannot escape our sight. I adjust my focus, aim carefully, and squeeze the trigger. The shot rings out as expected, sending the boars into a panic. But it's too late. After a series of precise shots, all that's left are their bodies lying on the ground. Moments later, more dark shapes appear, unaware of the battle that just took place. Once again, our sharp shooting skills are put to the test. With each precise shot, honed through countless fierce battles, we don't give them a chance to escape. From another angle, an alarm sounds. It seems the boars are trying to flee after the recent commotion. John immediately gets the order, quickly moving to block their escape route. The boar, unaware of John's approach, becomes an easy target. With swift and decisive action, John lines up the shot. Perfect! The bullet strikes true. Other boars nearby don't escape the perfect control John exerts. The area is quickly secured. As the battle grows fiercer, new targets appear. With years of experience and a deep understanding of wild boar behavior, we are fully prepared. The timing and positions have been carefully calculated, awaiting the right moment to strike. Before long, this area is cleared, leaving no trace of the marauding beasts. Not a second to spare, we move toward the edge of the field where the wild boars are likely hiding. Sure enough, they emerge. I line up my shot, the bullet instantly speeding towards its target. Nice! The feeling of victory floods in. It's almost unbelievable how perfectly the shot landed. Despite knowing how slippery these creatures can be, even the most decisive moves can't always stop their speed and agility. A few of them manage to dart into the dense forest nearby, narrowly escaping the chase. The hunt continues, and we deploy all available resources and advanced gear to launch a new strategy. Every position is meticulously calculated based on the boar's known hiding habits. Soon, the targets begin to appear. The rifles are ready, no room for error. A shot rings out, and the boar drops instantly. Simultaneously, from all sides, gunfire erupts, marking our absolute dominance. A flawless battle, everything under control, every step calculated perfectly. My mother's cornfield in Shikoku, where she poured endless sweat and tears, now lies in ruins under the hooves of wild boars. They've turned all her hard work into a battlefield. That's why we set out, to protect what's most precious. But will we return safely after facing these fierce wild beasts? The answer lies just ahead. After a thorough strategy meeting, we carefully chose our route, pinpointed the mountain near the cornfield where the boars often appear, and identified potential ambush spots. We quickly took our positions. Everyone wore camo gear, strapped on rugged boots gripping every rocky step, checked radios and firearms, and attached GPS collars to our skilled hunting dogs. About 30 minutes later, the dogs' urgent barks echoed, signaling they had surrounded prey. The GPS on my device confirmed they were deep in a dense bamboo thicket. I chose to approach from the upwind side, sneaking along thick bamboo trunks to conceal myself. My heart pounded. Each step closer to the target was as light as a cat's paw. I gripped my rifle tight, aimed at the target, finger on the trigger. Boom! The prey was hit, but dashed deeper into the forest. Without hesitation, I charged after it with the dogs. Exhausted and unable to fight back, it collapsed. I stepped forward, granting it a final mercy. This task demands a cool head and brave heart, because the line between hunter and hunted can be razor thin. We moved to a more strategic spot, a narrow trail dividing two forest patches. It's a natural bottleneck where boars often run when chased. An ambush here could cut off their escape routes. Waiting is always the tensest part. Suddenly, dogs barked louder and closer, herding the target straight towards me. A massive dark figure shot across the trail like an arrow. I fired rapidly, but its terrifying speed let it vanish into the opposite forest. Failure didn't break our spirit. Release the hunting dogs, I ordered over the radio. On my screen, I tracked the pack and the boar's movement. Using terrain and speed analysis, I pinpointed a perfect interception spot. Sprinting there, my heart hammered like war drums. Arriving, I took position and raised my gun. This time, the boar had no chance, welcomed by a burning bullet straight into its body. The hunt pressed on, guided by the dog's signals deeper into the forest. I quickly found a large tree to hide behind. Leaves rustled and the dogs barked nearer. Prey was approaching. A swift move. I raised my gun and squeezed the trigger. The startled target spun and fled, but the hunting dogs were right behind, accelerating to prevent escape. Following the GPS, I knew the chase would end soon. Tracking the device, I spotted the boar trapped by the courageous dogs. Calmly, I stepped in, locked onto the dark form, and fired. The bullet ended the struggle. The hunt continued in a rugged, steep area, demanding sharp focus and reflexes. The dogs found another hiding boar. Suddenly, a black head emerged from nearby bushes. Without wasting a second, I steadied my aim, held my breath, and fired. The wild beast fell instantly. It all happened like a reflex forged through thousands of hours, where experience, instinct, and decisiveness became one. As the sun began to set, we prepared to end a long day. Yet the dogs weren't done. They cornered the last wild boar. I shouted for them to back off. Just then, I fired the final shot, sharp and decisive, closing a day full of challenges. Loaded with trophies into the back of our Jeep Gladiator, we headed home under the golden sunset. This work requires steely nerves and strong resolve, as every hunt is a face-off with danger. But to bring peace to the villagers and protect their hard-earned After the harvest, the fields are left with nothing but bare stubble. But this is exactly where wild boars often come to forage. They dig up the earth, ruin the freshly harvested plots, leaving chaotic traces and causing great distress to the locals. This is why we decided to organize this hunting trip, to control the wild herd and protect the crops. Before setting out, the team carefully checked their guns, reloaded ammo, tested radios, and put on protective gear. Will our plan succeed? Can we take down these destructive invaders? Follow along to find out. About 20 minutes later, we arrived at today's battleground. The open field ahead was the perfect spot for wild boars to appear. The team leader quickly divided us into groups to block exits and set up an ambush. Within just 10 minutes, the ground seemed to tremble as a herd of boars ran single file across the field. The leader tracked every movement carefully, keeping his sights locked. When all factors aligned, he fired decisively. One fell immediately. Then, supportive shots rang out from blocking positions, dropping a few more. The rest of the herd fled, only to run into the traps we'd laid. Suddenly, a large boar charged straight at me. Without hesitation, I raised my rifle, steadied my aim. At just the right distance, I pulled the trigger sharply. The bullet struck the heart and lungs. The boar collapsed on the spot, ending the dangerous charge. You see, when facing a wild animal charging head-on, staying calm, estimating distance, and prioritizing safety are the keys. Right after my shot, rapid gunfire erupted from the left. A massive shadow had panicked and bolted past a nearby squad. Reacting quickly, my teammate calculated the speed and direction of the running animal to take the shot. At the precise moment it crossed the clearing, the bullet tore through the air and struck true, flipping the boar over as it struggled before finally collapsing. Nothing could outmatch these sharpshooters. A flawless kill, ending any chance of escape. At the same time, another boar burst out from the dry crops nearby, desperate to escape. My teammate reacted instantly, pulling back to gauge the trajectory. In a split second, the shot stopped the escape attempt. This quick reflex made all the difference. We switched to Plan B, spreading out to widen the search area. One group pushed deep into the forest, while another used motorcycles for faster mobility. The roaring engine startled some hidden boars, who dashed out in panic. Instantly, a target sped by, and my teammate skillfully revved the throttle, closely tailing on his bike. Ever witnessed a chase like that? He maintained control with one hand on the handlebars, the other steadying his rifle, controlling each breath as the bike roared over rough terrain. When close enough, he fired sharply. The prey dropped in panic. This isn't a skill every hunter has. You need balance and firing control to stay safe and be effective. Following the remaining tracks, we entered the final phase of the hunt. The moment was truly tense. A massive target appeared before me, its eyes sharp and defiant. The beast roared and charged straight at me. Heart pounding, I steadied myself, gripped my rifle tightly, and calculated the split second that would decide life or death. When it was just a few steps away, I fired. The thunderous shot shattered the silence. The monster faltered and collapsed at my feet, ending the final confrontation. The northern forest woke up under a veil of early morning mist. It looked peaceful on the surface, but the ground told a different story. Uprooted soil, snapped young trees, and deep hoofprints led us to one conclusion: the wild boars were back. Locals had reported a destructive herd tearing through the forest's edge, leveling an entire strip of land. There was no time to waste. The team leader immediately called us in. Gear check, ammo loaded, scopes aligned. The hunt was on. But this wasn't just a chase. It was a battle of wits between man and the most cunning beast in the deep woods. We moved slowly, threading our way through thick forest growth. Suddenly, a rustle ahead. The team froze. Our scouts radioed in. A herd of over 10 boars was feeding just up ahead. Without hesitation, the leader signaled a split. One group flanked left, while the others spread out and began setting traps. Then came the cue, a crackle on the radio. All rifles fired in unison. The opening volley was surgical. A few of the lead boars went down instantly. The rest scattered in chaos. A solid start, but today's hunt was just getting warmed up. After the first shots, the herd vanished into the deeper forest, but that was expected. The escape routes had already been calculated and trapped. Soon, one of them bolted right toward my position. I adjusted my scope, waited for the right second, and bang! One clean shot. Game over. That's the thing about hunting. Reading the terrain and predicting the escape path is everything. The echo of that shot had barely faded when another dark shadow dashed past in a blur. I couldn't let it get away. I gave the signal. One teammate swung west to intercept. As the boar burst through the brush, my partner was ready, scope locked, finger steady. One shot, one drop. A perfect tag team moment. What did you think of that shot? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. By midday, we switched to plan B, releasing the hounds to sniff out what was left. The dogs took off like rockets, weaving through the forest with noses to the ground. Moments later, a flurry of barking erupted from the northeast. I followed the sound with my rifle raised. A massive boar was caught in the center of the dog pack. Tracking every move carefully, I waited until it was clear, then squeezed the trigger. Direct hit, down before it had a chance to bolt. But we weren't done. The dogs pushed deeper into the trees. Another burst of barking, this time near the forest edge. That was our cue. Something else was hiding. I approached slowly. There, between thick branches, a boar was trying to escape the tightening circle of hounds. Would have gotten away. We had started packing up. The day seemed done. Then, just as the hounds returned, a monster burst out from the bushes, charging straight for them. I spun around, brought up my rifle, only a few meters away. Bang! The shot roared, and the beast staggered, collapsed just feet from where I stood. Way too close. A second slower, and we could have lost one of our dogs. This forest hunt was nothing short of intense. Ambushes, tactical flanks, point-blank encounters. Every moment demanded teamwork, calm nerves, and absolute precision. We strictly follow local hunting regulations and operate only in licensed zones. All footage is captured as a real documentary of our hunts. Raw, honest, and unfiltered.